Vince McMahon didn't like Bray Wyatt. Plus, will we see the new Windham Rotunda hitting the Indies? And the Young Bucks tease Kevin Owens joining AEW. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Bray Wyatt / Windham Rotunda has been the talking point for the last couple of days since his contract ended. His no-compete is up. He's free to go where he pleases and do what he pleases.
Yes.
So stories are starting to come out about his relationships at the end of his run in WWE, aren't they?
Absolutely. Fightful are reporting that their sources within WWE felt as though Vince McMahon didn't like Bray Wyatt towards the end of his time with WWE, mainly down to Bray constantly or persistently complaining about creative issues. Now, given the nature of a lot of the storylines and stuff going on towards the end of his WWE run, I'm not so certain I can blame Bray Wyatt for being too persistently vocal about creative issues, especially when it's to do with your run and your character. Do you know what I mean?
I think, yeah, he has a creative energy that I don't think really gelled with Vince McMahon.
Maybe like in a similar way to Broken Matt Hardy.
Yeah, that's it. Very much that. So in terms of some of the things that there was creative issues about, obviously near the end, was the final match of his WWE run. It was the Wyatt and Orton match, and the plan was going to be, I think we've mentioned this on news videos before, but the plan was going to be for Wyatt to win and Orton to take some time off.
Yes.
And they decided, nah, other way, mate.
It was very bizarre. I mean, I remember, I think all of us probably in that predictions contest predicted that Bray Wyatt would win that match.
Because it seemed obvious.
It seemed very obvious. Randy Orton had previously set him on fire. It seemed like revenge was more than due for Bray Wyatt. Instead, Alexa Bliss turned on him for reasons that we still don't quite understand. She's now spooky Bray Wyatt equivalent, and
she might not even be that anymore.
Well, no, yeah.
She's gone.
And Wyatt is actually gone. So, I mean, apparently his release also caused a bit of a morale dip as well amongst talent, because even though budget cuts was the reason given for his release, he was one of the highest merch sellers at the time of his release. So it doesn't quite add up there either.
There's a lot it doesn't add up. And you know what? I think even storyline-wise, it was never going to add up. So, like, say, for example, the Burn Fiend story that we saw in following TLC and return of Bray Wyatt as sort of crispy, charred Bray Wyatt, Kentucky Fried Bray Wyatt. He didn't like that either. He was very unhappy with that because he said the suit design made him look bad and the suit design was heavy and it didn't work. And the frustration from Bray Wyatt was that there seemed to be no end game to anything he was doing, and that's the wording. There was no end game. Like, Bray Wyatt is very much like the UK version of The Office, where like it was 2 seasons, a Christmas special, and done. Like, in theory, that's what it should have been.
Right.
For a while and then done. However, it was treated like the US version of The Office, just to keep going and going and going and going and going and going and going. Both are very good, by the way. But with the nature of WWE, like it will vary by the seam of their pants booking, and a character like Bray Wyatt and the Fiend, it needs to be very much an arc that you write and then finish.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And we didn't get that at all, which is part of the reason why he was very frustrated near the end. My microphone keeps falling down. That was not part of the story.
Oh, goodness.
Moving on to what he will do next. So a lot of conversations have occurred about what Bray Wyatt's next plans are. Is it going to be AEW? Is it going to be Impact? Will he hit the Indies, Jack?
Well, apparently not, according to Brett Lauderdale on the Wrestling Inc. Daily. He was asked if he'd approached Windham Rotunda about being at a GCW show and said, "I've never talked to Bray Wyatt, but my understanding is that I don't know that our world is very appealing to Bray Wyatt. There's no secret message there. I think that he's not interested in making the rounds on the Indies. That's my understanding. I don't mean any negative implication that he said anything, because I've never spoken to him. From people that I know, that he knows and whatever, it just doesn't seem like it's something that's on his to-do list anytime soon."
Yeah, I feel like if we're going to see Bray Wyatt again, it's going to be something high budget.
Yeah, I'd assume so as well. I mean, but if he's not going to make the rounds on the Indies, what middle ground is left for Bray Wyatt? Is it AEW and that might be it? I don't really know.
AEW, Impact, New Japan.
New Japan. That would be bizarre. I'd like to see it just to see what on earth happened, because
he's almost I'm intrigued. I know there's something coming from him. He was doing something at the Warner Brothers lot in LA. So there's something. I thought we'd get something over Halloween and we didn't. I thought that would seem like an obvious one, but we didn't.
But we didn't.
We'll see. He's keeping us guessing. Corey Graves was chatting to Ryan Satin. Remember a few weeks back, Corey
I do.
got a bit of a shoe-in.
He made a comment during a Dana Brooke match, basically saying she's never been successful. That was essentially the gist of it. I can't remember the exact wording, but he was basically saying on commentary, Dana Brooke's she's never in character really, but she's never really made that much of an impact. She doesn't win many matches. He was kind of burying her on commentary a little bit.
Did feel very burial. On the show with Ryan Satin, he said 99.9% of the time, everybody realises it's just me doing what I do. I love walking the line and being provocative. I also make sure and try to take great care that I don't harm anybody from a character perspective. I always want to make people better. For instance, the Dana Brooke issue, I actually sent her a text message in the next morning saying no hard feelings. For the content.
Right, so he says, now I like to make things better, I like to make people better. For instance, here's a text message I sent Dana the next morning. What did that say?
It said, hey, no hard feelings, it wasn't personal.
I mean, I was about to sneeze there, sorry. Oh, it just came out.
Wrestling news.
Anyway, my point being, honestly, when I interrupted you and said, now let's all listen to what this text message said, I thought I was going to sneeze over you talking about it. And I was
like, bless you.
Oh, dear me.
Literally.
Thank you. I think that's a weird apology. It's not really an apology. It's sort of saying, hey, no hard feelings, kid.
Yeah, it's almost like I think his mouth ran away with it, and then he kind of realised there was a lot of heat around him, so he just texted her directly and went, hey, it's fine, it wasn't personal. He goes on to say, I don't know what's going to happen in these shows, I am reacting, that's my choice. There have been times where I sat in production meetings and I have ideas, but I prefer to not know what's happening because I like to think my reactions are more genuine. I get to use my wit a little bit better.
No.
I don't think there's any harm in knowing. Everybody knows that spontaneity isn't something you just dream up on the spot. It takes meticulous planning.
Yes. Now, I know that various commentators like to approach this different ways. Mm-hmm. What do you do? Do you like knowing the results of a show before you watch it?
I tend to know what's going to happen because then, again, I can plan my spontaneity.
You can react appropriately for the situation. If it's a huge return or something that you didn't know was going to happen, you might undersell it if you didn't know.
Exactly. And there's a few times where I have, commentate on wrestling shows and maybe haven't known the true significance of somebody making an appearance, entering a rumble. So therefore, to ask these questions allows you to deliver it properly because I think a lot of people think that, oh, I'm commentating and this is fun for me. No, you're providing a service for people watching. You're guiding it.
I understand that, for example, I think that JR doesn't quite like sometimes to know exactly what's going on. And I get that in the midst of the Attitude Era, when he knew everything, he had the full context of everything, maybe he would be able to inject further passion if it was sort of semi-real to him what was going on at the time.
Yeah, I hear that.
I think in a modern era where there's wrestlers showing up who commentators may not have heard of necessarily.
Exactly.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah.
And it's stuff like that. I think that but as you say, every commentator preps differently. I personally like to know, so I can. If you are looking for a commentator, I always know. I always like to know what the crack is, so I can deliver for the product appropriately.
Yes,
that's just me. Finalamo, the Young Bucks are at it again.
What they like,
cheeky boys,
these crazy lads.
Those crazy lads.
They've changed their bio again on Twitter. This time it simply reads MROW, meow. Not the noise of a cat.
Meow.
But no, not at all.
A dinosaur.
But yes, a dinosaur.
Dinosaur?
No, it's actually the hashtag used previously years ago, meaning Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Now, for those who don't know, the Mount Rushmore of wrestling was the name of the stable, which consisted of the Young Bucks, Kevin Owens and Adam Cole, baby, back in sort of PWG and those sort of places. Now, obviously, the Bucks and Adam Cole, they're all together again. But Kevin Owens, what does that mean? What does that mean? Are they being teasy boys, or does it have actual backing? We know, for instance, that Kevin Owens referenced his own weird contract situation on Raw this week, saying it doesn't matter if I'm here for a few more months or a few more years. I'll continue to entertain.
I can't help but feel that Kev may head off.
His mates are all there.
All his mates are there.
His mates are there. Apart from Sammy, but then he might be off on his contract.
Then he might go as well, Like if you're in a pub and the company's all right, but then you hear four of your best mates are in the pub over the road. Turning my phone.
Is that your phone? Oh,
Hey, blame Mitch Wadden. He's apparently a Cultaholic tribal editor-in-chief. Apparently has something very important to say. Probably not. Joking, Mitch. Love you really. So if you hear all your mates
down the road,
you're gonna want to go down the road.
Yeah, I think you want to go down the road. The building's a bit newer.
Yeah.
The landlord's not as much of a dick.
Exactly. That's exactly it. We'll obviously keep an eye and see whether he does it. More news as we get it throughout the day at Cultaholic.com. Check out the YouTube channel for 10 greatest feuds that never happened. Why didn't we get Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk? Would have been amazing.
It would have been.
New Attitude Era, that happened, but it didn't. Find out some other ones at youtube.com/Cultaholic, where you are now, basically. Have a great day. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.